Well, as
Hi,
Mark
guys.
said, thank you guys for coming. So good to see you here. We were saying earlier, weren't we? We were like, hope people turn up because we're never quite sure. But no, we really appreciate you guys coming to hear a bit more about Hatfield and kind of our heart for Hatfield. So yeah, that's what we're going to do a bit now, actually, is just like, obviously we've spoken on a Sunday morning to you guys, and we've spoken a bit in the leaders meeting about sort of our heart for Hatfield and how we kind of have got to this place where we strongly feel like God is saying now is the time to launch this site. But yeah, there's been sort of various things that have happened on our little journey to kind of get us to this point. So we kind of wanted to share a bit of that with you this evening. We thought actually we've got a slide showing where Hatfield is, just in case. I'm sure you know where it is, but we thought that might be helpful just to check we're all on the same page here. So this map here is kind of Hertfordshire, so you can kind of see in relation. We thought that was quite helpful to see where St Albans is. So Hatfield, you can see it's just down the road, east of St Albans. It's about 10 minutes down the road, and that's Hatfield, a map of Hatfield. Which is quite interesting. So at the top, you can't quite see it, but sort of at the top, right in the centre, is the town centre, which is where we're looking at having our Sunday services there, and that's where we're going to be focusing on kind of Alpha and that kind of thing.
And the main outreach. So
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. So before we sort of dig into a bit more about Hatfield, we want to talk a little bit about our journey with God and our journey through our individual journeys a little bit, and a little bit about where we believe that the outreach will start in Hatfield. So we started doing a little bit of outreach stuff with a charity called Enflame in North London, and basically we didn't actually know each other at the time, did we? And so we were going out doing, like, every year in the summer they'll do like a little outreach, and they'll do like 6 groups of young people will go out into communities and just meet the need where need needed to be met. And basically, if it was football, we'd play football with the kids. If it was dance and arts, if it was crafts, if it was leading Sunday services for the pastors, we'd do that. Praying for healing on the streets, getting to know people. I think like we sort of started doing that, and we sort of, our passion for outreach started to grow, and we sort of just got set on fire, didn't we? And we just didn't want to stop. And then we sort of ran into each other, didn't we? So.
Yeah. We kind of had a little bit of a journey after that in terms of before we got together. But I feel like when we're reflecting on this, I feel like actually we both feel that was like a real time where God was planting these seeds of like of serving the community wherever we are, wherever he's going to call us to be. We want to be right in the heart. We want to be serving. And it kind of, those weeks, they were literally called End Serve. It was about serving. And it was, I think from then, we had this passion and kind of igniting us that wherever we were going to end up, that's what we wanted to do. But we really strongly then felt when we got married, just before we got married, this call to Hatfield. So, but it's interesting looking back that God was sort of planting those seeds from early on, and we both had that kind of real passion to see God's kingdom come through serving, through loving the community of Hatfield.
Yeah. I think, and we also started doing Inflame evenings. Initially, Jenna started doing it with someone, and I don't think I'd ever have stepped up on a stage, ever. And we started doing it together once we committed to get married. And just amazing to see how God changes people as they step into their calling. And so we're quite excited to see the next stages, aren't we? So.
Yeah, and then I think so when we moved to Hatfield, we started the Connect group, which we kind of touched a little bit about on Sunday. But we strongly felt that we wanted to do a kind of 3-week. It was called 3, 2, 1, Go. This was our sort of model that we wanted to do with our Connect group. And Paul, who is here tonight, Paul was in our Connect group. And we just felt it was really important that we were practicing serving Hatfield. So we would do 3 weeks meeting in our house, and then we'd spend a week going out into the community. And that was where really we started to, like, our hearts started to break for the town. That's where God started to really speak to us about something bigger, like a bigger purpose of why we're doing it. We didn't really know what that looked like. We were just being obedient with like the little thing, like we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just like, one week we did a litter pick, didn't we? We were like, let's just go out and clear up litter, which was really cool. The council just like dropped off these litter pickers and we just went out and did it. Did like teas and coffees
on the street, and just got to know a few of the people, and they just couldn't believe that we actually wanted to invest time there and actually wanted to be engaging with the community, really. So I mean, it's just really cool to know that we're in what we're actually doing, what God's calling us to do. And so we started doing some praying around the area, and a few weeks we would go to different places, and that's when Jenna had the story about the dry bones, which we shared in the service. And then so I went to a nightclub. Actually, there's a nightclub there. It's quite dead actually for some reason. I mean, it was a Thursday night, so you expect a nightclub to be dead, but I don't think there's ever been a lively nightclub in Hatfield, to be fair, apart from the Forum. But yeah, so we went up there and it was absolutely dead, and we were just like walking through praying, and then we thought, okay, we'll go up here. And then recently you were like, how cool would it be to go in that nightclub and actually...
Yeah, so one of the places we were thinking about, because we've had a lot of contact with cafes in the town centre, and they've been really open. Actually, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, about us meeting there and doing an alpha and kind of an out of hours kind of event. But we were thinking, we actually don't have a venue for the Sunday morning service yet, which we're hoping to do sort of in the autumn term. And so we're fully having to rely on God for that. Like, we fully believe that God's calling us to the town centre. We just have felt that from early on, really, haven't we? It's kind of, if we're going to do this, let's be bold, let's just go for it. Let's be a presence in Hatfield. It's very dead in the evenings in Hatfield. Everything seems to shut down, and we just want to try and inject some life there as well. And yeah, anyway, so back to the nightclub. So we were thinking about, how cool would it be to do like a Sunday service in the nightclub? Anyway, no longer a nightclub there. It's a gym. So we were thinking, I can't really do it in a gym because obviously they're open on a Sunday morning. It's a bit awkward. Anyway, then the other day they're like, we saw that they're shutting down, the gym's shutting down. So we're not pleased that they're shutting down. They're going out of business. Don't get us wrong. But it's just exciting to think that actually we've got these ideas and we've got these plans, and we've been have these ideas, but actually God's got it sorted. Like, God knows, like God's just giving us these little signs of confirmation that he's got it planned. He's got the bigger picture in mind, and we just need to keep trusting him and believing for what he's got for us. Yeah, definitely. And I think it just shows that God's been sowing seeds there for a long, long time, I mean, we're there to sort of just complement what people have already started out there, and we're really excited to see what God's got to offer, and just the conversations we're going to have, the people we're going to meet. There's a lot of it's a very multicultural town, Hatfield. There's a lot of Eastern Europeans that just recently moved. I would say probably in the last 5-10 years. So I mean, it's just booming, and it's absolutely amazing to see new shops opening up. They've developed the town centre, so there is life in Hatfield. And we just want to be a part of what God's doing there, and we want to start seeing people committing to Jesus and actually coming along to a Sunday service and worshipping in Hatfield there, really. And I mean, homeless, they're the sort of people that we're looking to try to get on board and to bring along to church. Initially it's going to be a bit difficult. We've got to try to get them in somehow, but I think having all the fees and everything else here, it's amazing, because it's almost like a vision that we're sort of looking at pushing, and having that here is there's always resources and stuff that we can bring across to Hatfield that will just inject life into that little place that we're going to call home, really. So yeah, that's it. And we were at the leaders meeting, and I think it was Sue said that there's quite a lot of people that she meets who come to feed, and they can't come regularly because they just can't get there, but yet they live in Hatfield. And that was it was really exciting to hear her say that. It was kind of confirmation of what we feel God's been saying as well, that actually how cool would it be to set up something that there are charities that help homeless people there, but to have something a bit more sort of whether it's breakfast, like a cafe, like a breakfast cafe, whatever that looks like. I mean, it starts with building relationships and seeing where the need is, and then kind of going from there. But something we're excited about. There's another slide actually here, which just shows a bit more about the town centre. I don't know if you guys have been to Hatfield Town Centre, but so this is kind of the main row of shops. You've got like Simmons, and you've got like charity shops and various things down there. And then this is, like AJ said, they have pumped a bit of money into Hatfield fairly recently. Like the last couple of years, they've redone this White Lion Square here, and they've put a little kids playground down there. There's some benches and that kind of thing. So it's quite nice. It's quite it's worth saying as well that actually, I think a lot of people in Hatfield, from what we've picked up, people we've spoken to, also things like on Facebook and stuff, people, I think, in general feel like Hatfield's a bit of a forgotten town and a forgotten people. And Hatfield is part of like Welwyn and Hatfield
Borough Council, yeah.
Borough, yeah. And there is quite a lot of people that sort of get annoyed sometimes at the money that's pumped into Welwyn, and they feel like it's not fair that there's not the same money that's pumped into Hatfield. Not saying everybody, that's just kind of what seems to come across sometimes. For example, like the Christmas lights. This was a big thing in We Are Hatfield, which is a group on Facebook. Yeah. This was a big thing because Welwyn Garden City had these like enormous, they were like the size of this room, like teddy Christmas bears. Lights, teddy bears, and you might have been there. And Hatfield, like no lie, had them like this size. And everyone was like, how is that fair? Why is there such a difference? And I think there is like a general feeling of like being a bit of a forgotten people.
Comparison, I mean, all sorts of stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, and then this is the other side of Hatfield. So you've kind of got, is the arcade on there? No, it's probably in the next slide. There's a market that happens there Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then there's a bit of like an arcade that sort of links this bit to that bit, and in that bit there's like not much going on, to be honest.
There's a few really nice cafes as well, isn't there? I mean, I think more recently, since they have done Hatfield Up, it has become a bit more lively, hasn't it, during the day? And I mean, you used to feel like you didn't want to walk through Hatfield for a coffee and stuff like that, But nowadays, it's so much nicer than it used to be. And I'm glad they've sort of renovated a bit,
And it's really funny to think like how we've been, like when we've been intentional about going into Hatfield, so like we go for breakfast or we go for a coffee or whatever, and we've decided to go into the town centre, like the people who we've met and the kind of just what we see, like it's kind of us making that commitment to kind of investing in the town, but also being present when we go in. So not just going to where we need to go and then coming out. It's kind of making sure we're looking at what is God doing here? Who is he speaking? Who does he want to speak to? That kind of thing. I remember meeting, like I went to the post office once with my little Harley 2-year-old, and we met this homeless man. We just got chatting to him. It's called Andy. And it was really, it's so easy to have gone there and just gone to what we needed to do and come out again. But it was kind of, I felt the challenge of God saying, are you committed to actually investing in the people here and being present and seeing their need and what they need? And it was lovely to meet him, and you got an idea of kind of how little there was for homeless people in Hatfield, and God started to speak about all these things that we could do. And so it's been, over the years, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
I think so,
in terms of God, like planting ideas and seeds, and he's, as AJ said, he's moving there already and doing incredible things, and we just want to be a part of that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose we've got a dream that we feel like, are we there yet? We need to talk about Bebo a little bit, don't we?
Yeah,
about a cafe.
That's the next slide, actually. We can do that.
So this is the cafe that we're hoping to. We spoke a little bit about a vision of doing an alpha to start, maybe like 10, 12 weeks, but more like probably going to be more 10. And this is a place that we've approached, and they're very open to us using their venue for an alpha course. And so they'll open up in the evenings, and we'll do a few hours there, share a little bit about alpha, run through the 10-week course, and then invite people to come along after and basically try to do some sort of plant there then. Site. It's so hard to get it out of my head. We spoke about it yesterday, didn't we? I was like, site. No, plant, site. So, I mean, that's the arcade there, just to the right of the Bebo, and that's all been renovated recently as well. So, it's definitely, getting a bit nicer, isn't it?
That was real kind of confirmation, actually, because at the leaders meeting we were sort of praying. We asked for prayer for a venue for, like, we really again felt like in the town centre we wanted a cafe to do alpha and to do some sort of I don't know whether it's an open mic night, that kind of thing. And afterwards I went to speak to a couple of cafes, and they were all really up for it. They were like, this guy actually in here was brilliant. He was like, do you know what, I could like put food out along the side, and we can move the tables, and we can do this. And then his boss rang me that afternoon and was like, okay, so I hear that you want to like use our venue. So it was just really exciting that there's this real like hunger. They want us to go in, they want us to do stuff. So that's really exciting. God's been sort of confirming things through different people.
I think like when we first thought, okay, cool, God wants us in Hatfield, we were like, okay, we're committed to Hatfield. It makes sense, like logistically and everything else. And then it just took us a journey to get to a place where we realised actually God's calling us to something bigger here, and actually a lot of resistance at some points, you know, especially at the leaders meeting. Can we talk about that now? Yeah, I think at the leaders meeting, but just before lockdown, Mark mentioned about extending our reach and doing different bits and pieces and potentially site churches. And when he mentioned that, Jenna came home really excited, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, just before, I don't know if I mentioned this I didn't mention it on the Sunday, but just before the leaders meeting, I'd sort of emailed Richard and been like, hey, like, don't know what God's saying, God's stirring something. Can we meet to chat? Like, I don't know whether it's going to look like an evening service or doing something. Do you remember that email? Like doing something like in the community more or whatever. Can we meet and just see like what church is sort of thinking, and then what God's been speaking to us about? He was like, you just need to come to the leaders meeting on Tuesday. So I turned up on Tuesday, and then like Mark shared about the sites and wanting to do one potentially in Hatfield or wherever, and it was like the penny it was such a relief actually, because it was like we'd known God had been saying something like stay in Hatfield, and it was such a relief to know and actually think, oh my goodness, this is it, this all makes sense, like this is what God's asking us to do. But I came home and AJ was like, what? Like, are you joking? And I was like, no, like this is so exciting. And we're just being honest, you know, you were not.
I think I was more up for like that Connect group model, 3, 2, 1, go. Like, you know, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to being out in the community in a small group, evangelising, like talk to people about Jesus, because that's our passion really, is like making Christ known on the streets to people who don't know him. You know, because you know people are struggling, aren't they? Every day they're struggling with themselves, with their mind, with their life situations, and they have nowhere to turn. And they can talk about it to their spouse or people around them, but people just need Jesus, don't they? And we know it, and we've got a longing for that. And so I was happy to like go out and do that once a week, every now and then, you know, once every month, you know. But I got comfortable. I must admit, I got really comfortable, and I was happy. And I'm happy, like in my own little comfort bubble, and just sort of started my own company up, really hoping that would thrive. And then Jenna came home with this, and I was like, hold on now, like this is mixed messages, because like it takes a lot of effort and a lot of, you know, some people have done it here, you know. A lot of effort, a lot of time, commitment to start a company up, just get it up and running.
I think you were actually frustrated. You were like, oh God, like why couldn't have this happened like a few years ago when we didn't have kids, didn't have like such big time commitments work-wise and whatever. Yeah. And it was just quite funny how God has worked.
I was a bit disheartened, I must admit, and it took a long time for me to sort of come around to the idea of actually God is calling us to this. So we were in that space of the liminal with Mark was talking about, and I was happily plodding on with my business and everything else, and it was thriving. I was really happy with that, and I thought, okay, put that to bed. That's not going to come back again. And then God just bam, it happened again, didn't it? And
well, then lockdown happened, and this didn't happen for a while, and actually God's just taken us on such a journey, like as a couple individually, like just done so much in us over the last couple of years that it got to the point where it was like, do you know what, now is the time. Like you got to a point where you just fully surrendered and actually realised that.
I think you were always on board, weren't you? Like you were never like, I don't think this is the right time. You were just like, do it the whole time. But no, it's good. It's good. We've committed now, and there's no looking back. So, but what we really want is obviously you guys to join us, and we do have a dream, and we do believe God has put that on our hearts, and it's got to be from God, because it's certainly not from me, you know. But Jenna's definitely got a vision as well.
Yeah, I think when you look back over the years, you can see that God's been, you know, doing a lot and to get us to this point, and like, you know, there's no denying the fact that He's saying now is the time. Like, you know, the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few, and you know what, I've given you this these ideas and this vision for a purpose, and like let's go, let's run with it. So in terms of just trying to think in terms of next slide, it's actually
Is the next slide? Reach. Well, just quickly before we move on to the last bit, I think our dream was at some point to be able to see the site church as being like something similar to like this blend bar potentially, and like so you can walk in straight off the town centre street, and you can come into a cafe or to like a feed event that's going on, and to be open like 5-6 days a week, you know what I mean, or 7 days a week, whatever it is, and just open to the community all the time. So it's not just going to be, oh, we open our doors on Sunday, and we do church every day, and that might, that's our dream, is to see that, and maybe a soft play in there, and I don't know, different bits and pieces where we can see courses for people struggling, like CAP courses, and I know Hatfield have that already, but it's just going to be like a contemporary feel, like a vineyard feel. It's going to be different, isn't it, to what's there at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we were in the town centre one day and just really strongly felt like, I think we were looking at one building in particular thinking it would be cool to like meet in there, and God was like, dream big. And it's like, we have these, like I said earlier, we have these ideas, but God has such bigger plans than we can even imagine, and all made possible through him. And that idea of a cafe just kept coming up. There's nowhere in the town centre where there's like a soft play or like an area where people can go with their children. So it was really cool to have kind of this idea of actually having a safe space where parents can go, carers can go, and have like their children, they know that they're playing safely, have people in there, like you said, running courses, language courses, because as we said, that's very multicultural, there's lots of people that speak different languages in Hatfield, and just have like that really community feel to it, like a community hub kind of cafe. So that's like thinking kind of in the future, but it's exciting. So in terms of how we kind of move forward from here, we've got a kind of launch plan that we'd like to run through with you. So phase 1 is to gather team. So
if you guys want to be a part of what God's doing in Hatfield and want to support us, this is going to be like our core team, which we're going to meet every I think once or twice a month, I would say, like a connect group style to start with, to get to know each other a bit better, to pray together, to seek God's face in Hatfield, and also just to build relationship, and go into the town and start praying together as well. But it's all going to be step by step. Nothing's a rush, is it? So so that core team, we're asking really for for you guys to be committed to a year, possibly 2 years, to be fully committed to the Hatfield site. So joining us and doing whatever that looks like to seeing the site kind of succeed. Second group of people, so also gathering a team. No, not the second bit there. Sorry, go back. Yeah. So still part of gathering teams. So we've got the core team. And then the support team as well. So maybe people who feel that they really want to get involved in different events and things that are going on, but can't fully commit to the year or to the 2 years as part of the core team, but you still want to get really involved. That would be the support team. And then thirdly, the prayer team. So those who are going to commit to praying for us. Those people that we can like set up a group and literally just, send off a prayer request and be really open and honest with, and just say, hey, we need prayer for this. Will you guys pray? And know that there's that team there committed to praying. So phase 1 is gathering our team. Phase 2 is then, AJ sort of touched on it, to meet and to grow as a team. So that's where it's really important that we develop trust with each other and we get to know each other. So this is talking about our core team and meeting regularly. So once or twice a month, and meeting regularly to pray for Hatfield. Like, we'd love to do that sort of in our house, but also out in the community, as hopefully you've caught that idea that we're very much about being in the community. So whether it's like going for lunch together or meeting for coffee in the town and praying, that kind of thing. So we're going to be meeting regularly with the core team. And then phase 3, so pre-launching activities, including one-off events. So this is talking about advertising, talking about kind of leading up to an Alpha event. So maybe, letting people know about Alpha, that when it's going to be happening, what it's going to look like, where it's going to be. Open mic nights probably like 2 or 3 before actually it starts,
Yeah, so we talked about maybe doing open mic nights, again in Bebo's, right in the town centre. So this will be kind of in the summer months when hopefully people are more outside. And also in Bebo, it didn't show in that photo, but they've got all tables outside. So the idea is hopefully it will kind of spill outside as well, which would be cool. And then, so that's pre-launch activity. And then phase 4.
And then obviously the Alpha course is pre-launch, isn't it?
No, phase 4.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Is launching a midweek evening meeting. So we're looking at straight after the summer, first week of September, doing Alpha at Bebo in Hatfield, and that's going to be probably a 10-week course. One evening a week, and then after that, it will be kind of having led Alpha before. We know at the end of the course, a lot of time people are like, well, what's next? Like, where do we go from here? So that will be the chance we say, oh, we're meeting on a Sunday. Come and join us. So that'll be phase 5, Sunday service launch.
Mid-November.
Mid-November.
Got that right.
So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. I think
that's it. I think really. So come join us, guys. We'd love to have you there.
Yay!
So yeah, where you sign up? That's good.
That's a good question.
I think we're going to do something on Church Street, aren't we? Is that right? Yeah. And then we'll probably just take a bit of pen and paper and just get you guys to put your email address down tonight if you want to join.
So some of you guys, we like hopefully, or you might be sitting there thinking, this is definitely what I want to do. I want to be part of the core team, or I want to be part of the prayer team. That's amazing. And yeah, please sign up this evening before you go. Give your contact details. Some of you might just think, actually, you want to go away. You want to digest some of this information. You want to pray about it and just seek God a bit more, about which team you want to join, if any. So that's cool as well. We can send out an email, follow-up email, and you can reply.
You might find as well, like you might want to start, you might get involved here and there, and then you might feel like God's saying, actually, yeah, this is for you, or this isn't for you. So don't be shy. Just come along and give it a go and see what happens, and then let God lead you from there.
So I don't know. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask about? Just to for us to clarify anything we've said or anything we haven't mentioned. Feel free to ask.
Yeah, I've got one. Are there going to be donuts there?
Yeah, well, definitely.
We would say
Definitely
so,
some kind of food will be involved.
Yeah, some sort of treats. Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Any help's welcome.
Do you know what I was thinking? We didn't talk about this last night, but what's your? You talked about homeless. You talked about people on the edge. What about the students in there? Because there's like 20,000 students, aren't there?
So like when Jenna was talking about the people struggling to get here and this and other, I did have that mind, that sort of trip. I remembered it in my mind, then I forgot when I looked at the screen. So yes, students. What I was going to say about that is basically we used to give students lifts from Hatfield to St Albans on a regular basis, didn't we? So I think that we can definitely. I think the students will probably be the ones that end up running the church in the end, because at the end of the day, we always look to gather people to build them up and then to push them out next, So we really hope that youth will be at the forefront of this church, really, and taking a lot of their their enthusiasm and their passion for God along with them. So.
The students also at the university, there's a freshers fair that happens every year, so we're hoping to get a place there in September to sort of talk about the church and talk to students about what we're doing, so that'll be cool.
Also, just out of interest, that lifting, was it for their to get from site to site for their education, or was it for the video? Okay. So the lift situation for the students, was that for their education purposes, or was it from site to site? So yes, it was from site to site. Yeah. So we would have people contacting, is there any way I can get a lift to? And we would say, this X, Y, and Z. Or if they would come on a bus one week, they would get it from the front. If you guys need a lift, just let us know. It was basically ferrying students from Hatfield to St Albans for the service. But I know these guys did a lot of work in the university previous, and that's where that was birthed from. So it's a sort of a continuation of that. Yeah.
That's good. Well, having got a Dorset University, I think it's really important that you've got people having stumbled into the student club, the Wetherspoons, didn't realise just how big the university is.
Yeah, that's it. and Sunday buses and that, it's difficult for students to get from Hatfield over to here. So hopefully, having that somewhere in the town where it's easily accessible, they can walk to, would get a lot of students that come along.
And sorry, the other thing that occurred to me when you were talking was, have you spoken to any of the, I think I looked up about 10 churches already in Hatfield?
So Paul's asking if we've spoken to any of the churches already in Hatfield, and briefly, I would say, I think Mark has potentially spoken to one of the churches. It's funny you should mention that, because we actually had one of the old site pastors who came and on Sunday, senior pastor, sorry, of the church plant, of a church plant in Hatfield many years ago. So I think their church was like 30 years, 25, 30 years, something like that, and he'd been the senior pastor of the church, and he's retired now. His name's Dave Rigby, and he came along on Sunday when we basically said that we're going to be the new site pastors, and he actually prayed for us on the day. So, I mean, we've spoken to one church in particular, but I actually went to a youth event with Step and Chris Evans, and I actually met most of the Hatfield pastors there, and it was nice to meet him, but I didn't want to sort of say exactly what we're doing straight away, because sometimes you can just upset people straight away off the bat, and can't you? But I did mention it briefly, and then a few of them caught hold of it, and so some know, some don't. So, but they'll soon know anyway. Yeah.
I've got a question for you guys. So you mentioned we're looking for 3 groups of people: those in the core team, those in the support team, those in the prayer team. 2 questions actually. First question is, what kind of person do you imagine as a core team person? Like, what is their character traits? Like, who are they as a person? What, like, yeah. Like, like, talk about what you think, like, what about their heart? What about their vision? What about all that kind of stuff? The second question related to that is, what if someone isn't sure? Can they start gathering and just figuring out along the way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, 2 questions, 2 points. So, I think that it's anyone that's just going to commit to just come in and seeing what it's like. We're not saying commit for the year straight away, or for the 2 years straight away. Just come and see if you if you feel like God's called you that place. For some of you are like, yes, definitely, I know that straight away. I want to be on board, and we welcome you guys. And some of you are just on the edge, not too sure, but just come and see. If you guys like it, if you guys like to see what God's doing, and you want to step out and actually step out your comfort zone, this is the place to do it. We're talking about reaching other places, other people, and we're not going to do it sitting here or sitting at home doing nothing, are we? So, that's one side of it.
And I think in terms of character as well, like, definitely, like, we touched on the commitment side, but I think just like being willing for God to use you, like, that's the only thing you need to have, really, is that willingness and saying, do you know what, God, here I am, kind of use me as you want to. We've talked a lot about, obviously, the vision being reaching the lost and wanting to go and bring God's kingdom to people, but actually part of this site as well is to grow and to nurture spiritual giftings in the church as well. Like, we're about, as you've said, Mark, before, like, it's about making disciples. It's not just about converting people. So actually part of that is, like, are you wanting to come as well and learn and grow and develop and be challenged? Because I think quite often, obviously, when it's a smaller site, there's going to be more opportunity for you to kind of step out and have to do things or try different things, and like, we want to be fully committed to kind of developing you and training you guys as much as we can, and looking after you pastorally and all of that, and seeing you reach your full potential as well and what God has for you.
I don't want to add to that because I feel like you've just answered the question, but do you remember the training we did where we talked about fast attributes? So it was people that are faithful, people that say, okay, I'm going to commit to a year or 2, and I'm going to commit to that no matter how I feel along the way. Available, okay, we've all got work commitments and various stuff, but I'm willing to make myself available where the need is. And what was the S? It was servant-hearted. Okay, I might have to come and get my hands dirty, might have to move some chairs, might have to be willing to, greet people at the door, and then timely. We need people on time. You can come with the best heart, but if you're 2 hours late, that's a bit of an awkward. But actually, that's a really simple attribute. It's not about skills, it's not about gifting, it's not about experience and everything else. And what I love about that is that's exactly how you started at Alpha. Is you just said, well, okay, I'm willing to commit to the course. I'll make myself available to what needs to be done. I'm servant-hearted. I know that tables are going to need to put out, and I'll be on time. And just being available for that was what you ended up seeing hundreds of people come through Alpha and give their lives to Jesus. Because you just brought those attributes, and God taught those skills and gifts and gave the experience, and we had loads of conversations along the way of, oh my gosh, this just happened, and the Holy Spirit spoke through me. I have no idea what happened, but let's just talk about it. And to be able to do that as a team would be fantastic, wouldn't it? And what was it you said when you first started, wasn't it? God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. That's it.
So, shifting gears a little bit, love being part of the St. Albans Vineyard. Hatfield feels like it's far away, and it's not. But how does it practically work out in terms of a multi-site as it relates to linking back here? What does that look like in terms of being one church family?
So we will, although we'll be meeting separately on the Sunday morning, everything, like, we're still part of this church, of this main, I don't know whether it's going to be called, whatever it's going to be called, Mother Church, Hub Church, whatever it looks like. But so all the courses, all the equip courses that run here, all the different training things that are available, all the youth things, it might be that actually we start to gather some youth from Hatfield and we have a minibus that brings them over to the youth stuff that happens here. Whatever that looks like, feed, we are one church still, just meeting in two sites. Things like baptisms and that kind of thing, we'll be able to celebrate together. So it would be Hatfield site coming here, doing those things together. So it's not us asking you to leave this church and come and just turn your back on everything else that's happening. It's literally that we are one church. We're just meeting in Hatfield on the Sunday morning.
Yeah. Good answer. I've got loads of questions. Yes. Will there be kids' work?
That is a good question.
I don't think, probably not to start with, to be honest, because it's going to be quite busy. There's a lot going on, and I think that we have to focus on the people that are coming initially and sort of invest in those people. And then once we feel like the church is growing and there's space for that to happen, then we will do that. But we do value it, and we think it's really important. But right now, no, not yet. Not yet.
There's no
But
kids
that-
groups, isn't it?
So
Kids
no
groups,
kids
yeah.
groups, but I mean, if a mum walks in with a kid
Yeah,
or dad
yeah.
walks in,
I mean, we've got
yeah,
kids.
they'd be welcome.
So I don't know
Exactly.
what we're
Yeah.
gonna do with them.
And what
but-
about that actually? What about if couples or families join, but they've got kids? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we're not
what would
saying
you
like
yours?
no kids. Obviously, they'll be very welcome there. But I think for us as a core team, like thinking about what's our main focus when we launch, when we set up, and I don't think as soon as we get going that the kids' work's going to be that focus. So we've got an incredible kids ministry here. So it could be that we organise for children to come here while we go back to the Hatfield site, or whatever that looks like. We could kind of have a rota for that or whatever. And then when the need is for kids' work to kind of be more organised at the Hatfield site, then we would look to do that.
And I think as well, if we get like if the most of the people that come to church are going to be single mums with a bunch of children, we're not going to say go home, see you later. We'll just set up some drawing and start doing activities in the corner whilst we're trying to talk about delivering a message. So it's just catering to the people who come. So yeah, it's not 100% no, but yeah, probably not.
Got it. I won't drop my kids off there then quite yet. Okay, so another question. I mean, most of us know what Alpha looks like. Great food. There's a talk, and you split into groups. But what's your vision for what the Sundays are going to look like? Can you just give us a flavour of that?
I mean, the concept is going to be very much like what we're used to in terms of a Sunday. So there's going to be a time of worship. There's going to be some teaching. But in terms of kind of how that looks, we're going to kind of go with the flow. We're going to see like whether that's like more of a cafe style where we have kind of worship and then a talk where people are sitting at tables and then we have some food or whatever afterwards. Whatever that looks like, we're not quite sure, but it's definitely going to be similar to kind of what we have here, but just a different flavour.
No, I haven't got more questions. Just give us space for you guys to ask questions. We've been stealing the stage. Great. Oh, I love that one. So Leanne asked if there's any links. Will we link up in terms of worship, talks, and various other things?
Possibly, but as well as that, we're also trying to grow a lot of the church as I don't know, congregation, whatever you want to call them, people come church. So that, we want you guys to be equipped as well. So if we just keep streaming the service, you're never going to get an opportunity to speak yourselves, you know. And there's a lot of people who are gifted at speaking, and some people who don't even know yet, you know. So we want to give you guys like a platform to do that. And if we just keep streaming the church service, it sort of takes that excitement and that away really. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think probably not very much, like you said, streaming, but definitely like sharing resources, sharing people. So like having people from here come and speak at Hatfield and whatever, you know, sharing people.
I think that's it. There's two levels there. One, which is what's here is a great safety net, but actually what you want to do is have your own identity and use your own people and own opportunities. But the other thing is actually, in order to keep those links in a really strong way, there are a lot of people here that haven't got that opportunity because, you know, there's only so many worship leaders you need on a particular week. So it is great that we can form that partnership and keep those links. And same pastorally as well. I don't know if anyone had that question about pastoral care.
Yeah,
Maybe someone does.
you've got a lot of people in a big church here.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of people here that are gifted.
Yeah.
Like AJ said, I don't know that they're gifted
Yeah.
in terms of delivering a sermon
Yeah.
or leading worship.
Yeah, Paul made, for the purpose of the video here, Paul made the comment that there's, you know, many people here who are gifted, but just either A, don't realise they are, or B, have had the opportunity. And, you know, when I launched this vision before COVID, one of the issues I said we currently have is we've got not enough opportunity for people to grow in their giftings because there's only so many services and so many platforms and et cetera, et cetera. So part of the vision of multi-site is to be able to create more opportunities for everyone to play and to grow in their giftings. So absolutely, that's why we don't want to go down a model where we stream the service from here into all the sites. And, you know, I agree with what Jenna said. You know, there might be opportunities to cross-pollinate. Hey, St. Albans, we've got a wonderful speaker from Hatfield site speaking and vice versa. It's also worth saying, though, on that question, that I do imagine that once every X period of time, all the sites will come together here and have a big old party, you know, a big old worship event. Or maybe we have a special where we stream all, you know, we have on the screen here all the sites on the screen and we do a big, you know, there are really creative opportunities to reinforce the fact that we're one family. And I think that's what's really exciting, I think. Can I shift gears a little bit with another question? And then I'll hand back over to you. Is the church providing you with training on this? Obviously, I know the answer to these. And do people get training, or is the church just booting you out and say, go create a site? Be careful how you answer this one.
I know, watch we can say anything. No, there's definitely opportunities for us to do some training. So Mark, I think you guys behind the scenes, you know, you're working on a training program for us. So we're part of, like, is it the Vineyard Institute it's called? So yeah, you can do some training kind of modules, which we're open to doing. And also, like as Mark said before, you know, there's other Vineyard churches that have used this multi-site model, so we're going to be connecting with people who've done that, finding out kind of learning from them, really. They've done it, and other people like other churches that have done it.
And obviously all the team who come along to the Hatfield site church will be more than welcome to come here and do the equip courses and, you know, be basically equipped here rather than just us delivering it there. We just sort of link up that way.
Other questions?
Yes. You said you've got a connect group in Hatfield, so will that continue, your connect group, and would you want to start more connect groups, or if people join the core team, would they carry on in their current connect groups?
Great question.
So what's your name? Joe said that as we've got a connect group now, will they be joining us basically in what we're doing out in Hatfield? We haven't actually got a connect group now. That was happening, it's not anymore. So we're going to start a new one, and yes, so they'll be getting involved in what we do in Hatfield. Is that answer?
Yeah, so I think like the core team would pretty much become the Connect group. So it's kind of going back to doing that, almost like that 3-2-1 go model, but with the core team who are committed to doing the launch of the site and everything with us. Yeah, so we're in it's a different Connect group, like family Connect group at the moment. So it's different, but yeah.
Can people be part of 2 Connect groups? Because what if they love their current Connect group? Sorry, yeah. Thank you. What if someone's in a Connect group and they really love it there, but they want to join the core team? Can they be part of 2 Connect groups? Is the answer yes?
These are the guys.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, it's about time as well, isn't it? And about, if you guys, if you find you're twiddling your thumbs on the weekdays and you want to get out and you're hungry to do more, then yeah, definitely. But sometimes, picking too much up at once, you can easily. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Except the existing Connect groups, if you become part of the core, you have to carry on.
Yeah, that's good.
You talked about, in terms of venues, I think it's really interesting that, this is maybe more a comment than a question. I think it's really interesting that the pre-nightclub, pre-gym, now nothing, is kind of available. Is that right in the centre? And I guess we could start praying for that, right? Is it vacant now, or is it going to become vacant?
I'm not 100% sure because my source is Facebook. So
your source is Facebook.
but I can find out. Yeah. I think, as far as I know, I mean, Debbie might know because Debbie knows everything about. Don't know that gym, no. Because this.
Oh, right,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great point. Accessibility is so important. Yeah, thank you for that, Julie.
Yeah. In terms of location, it's literally right in the town centre, opposite the multi-storey car park. But yeah, I mean, there's things like, we haven't, we haven't considered things.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We're going to start wrapping up shortly, but any other questions? I've got a couple of comments, but any questions?
Is looking at, I mean, obviously how this thing got started was in schools.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too obvious an option?
No, I mean, we have thought about that, and it's a really good question. So Paul's asking, could we potentially start in a school hall? Yes, we can, but the thing is, we want the vision of what we sort of felt God was sort of leading towards is more in the centre, like being in the centre, being in a place where, I mean, there's so many great spaces in Hatfield where we can meet, but we really, really feel like it's got to be right in the heart of Hatfield. So.
There's a pub there, it's Town Inn, right in the centre, and they've got a function room, which is an option. However, just thinking about, people coming if they have, difficulties with drink or whatever that looks like. Although I suppose the bar wouldn't be open in the morning. But yeah, a few different things we could think about. But that is right there, like in the town centre.
And also we want to be like contemporary as well. We want to sort of be like we are here, like we're quite a contemporary church, and like Bebo meets those sort of places at the moment. I mean, that's just for that one night a week course. So yeah, at the moment we're sort of leaning towards a cafe, and then hopefully we can find somewhere to rent a building or something like that.
I suppose it's part of the fun, isn't it, having to just wait and trust God for what comes up.
And this is it. Another question that would come to mind, but I'll ask myself this question, then I'll answer it, is how on earth do we pay for all this? That's a very good question, Mark. It's obviously going to cost money. How much would it cost? Good question. 10, 20 grand? We want to be able to pay for the rent on the place, the equipment. We're going to need mics, speakers, projector screens, all that kind of stuff. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to be launching the new Reach Fund. And the Reach Fund is going to be there to fund all our Reach initiatives, including finishing off next door and the new Hatfield site. And rather than have a new campaign every time we launch a site, we're going to have the Reach Fund, which will be open for the next 10 years. And essentially, everything we do will come out of that. And so we want to set up the Hatfield site with the money to launch that for a good while, so that we don't need to worry about the funding for that. So we are going to go to the church for the Reach Fund. I will do that in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, more information to come. We've got a brochure that will be given out in 2 weeks' time, which will have more details, but that's how we aim to fund this. Any income that comes from that church over time, from that site, as I mentioned, comes into the central pot, and we'll work with our lovely site pastors on what budget we need for that church, the expenses, the equipment, and that's how we'll run that. So yeah, that's how we're going to fund that. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Rich, AJ, Jenna, anything we want to mention which we haven't covered? Are you getting paid? That is a very good question. Wow, you asked that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a good question. And I'm glad you asked that. You know, we've had conversations about this, and, you know, the intent over time is that these guys, as we grow the church, are paid as site pastors. But as is common, you know, initially as we go out there, these guys are looking to commit their time and sacrifice without being paid. They're volunteers in this capacity in the early days as we go out and plant and as we go and grow this church. But absolutely the intent is that as the church grows, as we're able, that we pay these guys. And so we're going to be exploring that. We're not looking for site pastors that work 7 days a week and don't get paid. That's not the intent here. So we'll work very closely with these guys on that and work out a model that works well for them. Richard, anything you want to add on that point?
I mean, it is a good question, and it was a great conversation to have, because, I mean, wouldn't it be ideal to free one of you up to be able to do that for a lot? But also there's that great story of sacrifice in the beginning, so it was a good conversation to have. Equally, because they're not going as a ministry where we're saying, tell them what to do and what works and what doesn't, they're setting up as a site church. So in that essence, what we'd love to see over time is for them to build some self-sufficiency through inviting tithes and offerings and the likes as well. And it allows people to invest into that church as their own church home as well. So there is a spiritual principle about giving to God, but there's also a spiritual principle about giving to the kingdom. And so the intention is that as we progress, that there is some form of income and that balances out. I mean, we're not totally tied down to how long that takes, but that is important as part of the process. And then being able to, pointing to Jenna, but being able to give you that, at least a few days to start with and progress in that direction, which would be an amazing turning point for the church.